everyone, and I am back here with Ben. Yeah,
What's
Ben, you
that?
look happy out there. So yeah, I mean, I'm good. I know, I'm really looking forward to this one. The videos we did just talking about how to sell books on Amazon. I think it's going really well, and we've been getting a lot of good responses on YouTube and also outside of YouTube, directly reaching out to us to provide more insight or help them how to really launch their books on Amazon. So now we're back to talk about books again. And today we will be helping you guys to potentially how you can find a topic that is profitable. So Ben, why don't you just quickly walk us through with that or just summarize it before we delve into it? Or were you
Cool.
giving
Sick.
me that thumbs down
I
feeling?
don't know. I don't know what I just did. I don't know why that happened. Yeah, we've been getting a bunch of good feedback. We did if you go back a couple of videos on how to do a successful launch on Amazon for a new KDP book, and some of the feedback we got was great. That's assuming you already have a book completed. You already know what your book's about. How do you figure out what to write a book about? So what we wanted to do is create a second little series of videos here to address how to actually do the research piece to find a book topic to write about. Now, this is essentially what we kind of are going to talk about in probably this video, and we might have to split this into two, Arvin, but is
Mm-hmm.
what the research criteria are for finding a successful niche to actually write about. Now, I am not a writer, Arvin. I don't do you consider yourself a writer?
I'm not. I mean, someone told me I'm not, I don't even have the skills to make arts or something.
Who would have said that? I don't know. So neither of us are artists, writers, but we know how to do research on Amazon. Between you and me, I think, Arvin, we've been in this space for what, almost 12 or 16 years or something like that in the Amazon world.
Don't
We,
say that. They're just making them
okay,
think I'm old.
you're not old, you're very young. So
Yeah.
there's some criteria to look for to determine what a good category is to write a KDP book about. And that's what this video, and maybe if we have to split this into two videos, we're going to talk about. Where do you want to
Mhm.
start? Do you want me to just kind of start going through the criteria?
Yeah, show me your process.
Cool. So the
Hmm.
first thing I like to do, I'm going to share my screen because I think like the most important thing is to really just show kind of this process. Let me find my share screen here. Share screen. So I'm just going to go through and do this while we're actually talking. But on Amazon, I do all my research on Amazon. The only tools I use really Helium 10 and my keyboard to type things. And then I'll normally open up a spreadsheet while I'm doing this. The very first thing you want to do on Amazon, make sure you filter the drop down to books. That's going to first off, we're doing the research to write a book. So we want to be doing this research in the books category on Amazon. Arvin, by the way, you stop me, cut me off if you have any questions I need to explain. Deal?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. Go on. Hmm.
Any questions so far, or we're good to go?
No, it's very straightforward for now. So yeah, all is good. Continue.
Cool. So the first thing we want to do is start just kind of coming up with a list of places to start. Now, if you don't know where to start, maybe like if you have an idea in mind, like I don't know, let's just pretend we have, I don't know, I'm going to search. Maybe I've had it in my head. I maybe want to write a book about tiny homes. Okay. Let's just search tiny home in the books category. And what we're going to be looking for are first we need to start assessing if this is a good category. Now, again, if you have an idea in mind, you can start with that idea. If you don't have an idea in mind, there's something you can do pretty easy. Go to this, go to the department searches over here, and we want to find books. So let's see. Here we go. Books, shop by department, and let's just go to books. And you can just kind of start drilling down into these subcategories. So maybe I want to look in crafts, hobbies, and home. Oh, that sounds interesting. And you kind of just want to start going through various categories like, oh, okay, crochet. Maybe that's interesting. Watercolor. Start finding ideas as you go through here. So Amazon is your idea generation mechanism. There's so many different ways to take this, but essentially you want to start looking through and thinking about different ideas. So that's kind of step one here. Now, what are the actual evaluation criteria? That's really what we're going to talk about for the rest of this video. I think let's cover
Hmm.
half of them in this video and we'll do a part two to cover the other half. Deal?
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right, cool. So now I'm going to go back to the books category. So let's pretend that we kind of know that we want to write, I don't know, let's pick crochet since we're already starting there. I'm going to search crochet. And let's say for beginners, just because I love doing books for beginners. Number one, we need to identify what the main keyword is. So if I have determined that the main keyword I want to create a book around is crochet for beginners, like maybe the potential title I have in my head is crochet for beginners, or crochet, a beginner's guide to creating your first crochet project, something like that. I want to know that so like, for example, this crochet for beginners, I'm using Helium 10 here, has 2,400 monthly searches. That's actually pretty dang solid. So that tells me right away that this is actually probably a pretty good keyword. So first criteria, this is our number one criteria. We want to make sure that our main keyword is in between 5 and 10 of the titles of the books on page one search results. Why? Because that helps validate this main keyword. And this, again, this is not an exact science. So that's an ideal situation is we're going to have between 5 and 10 people showing up with crochet for beginners because it tells us that this is a great keyword or kind of keyword family to target. So in this case, I'd go through and I can see crochet for beginners. They don't have it, crochet for beginners. You know what I mean? So we want to kind of understand like, do these titles have crochet for beginners in them? That helps validate to us that there's keyword demand. It doesn't mean our title is going to be crochet for beginners, but if that's the main search term that we're actually building a book around, we want to validate that that search term is in fact something worth building a book around. It's a lot easier to go write a book once you know there's already demand for the book than it is to try to create that demand. And so this is just one of our ways of validating that this keyword, so we could even straighten, narrow this down. Crochet would be like the easiest version. Now that's just going to be extremely competitive, right? But I can validate
Yeah.
crochet. Every book on this page is going to have crochet. That's why I'm choosing crochet for beginners because that's going to narrow down our pool. But it still has demand from a search volume perspective, as we just saw, 2,400, and it's being used throughout the search results, which tells me there's other people who are already validating this market for us. Okay, that's number one here. Arvin, any questions on that? I'm going to pause for a second.
No, actually, I'm not trying to interrupt you because I think so far this is very easy to follow. I mean, it's just really just researching, look for a keyword, go to the search box and look for the result. So
Yeah,
carry on, Ben.
cool. Thanks. I appreciate that. Now, what I'll tell you guys for anyone watching this, what I normally am doing is I normally have either an Excel sheet opened or I have a Google sheet open. And on that, what I'm going to have columns. And the columns are going to be for my criteria. I'm going to have check boxes for these. So, like column number one. So, column number one is where I'm going to put my ideas. So, like in that column, I might put crochet or crochet for beginners as that row. And then the second column and on are all the criteria with check boxes. Did this meet the criteria? Yes or no? Check or uncheck. So in this case, this would be a check, right? I have between 5 to 10 of the
Okay,
page one results. Yes,
I have a
please.
question now, Ben. Because you were
Yes.
mentioning all of the criteria earlier, but I'm just now curious. What are those criteria for me to say that this is actually a good product?
Yeah.
Or is that something
Well,
you will share later?
that's what we're going through, right? So number one
Okay.
is the search results. Do we have people in this 5 to 10, ideally on page one, that have our main keyword somewhere in their title of their book? That helps us validate that the keyword we're looking at is the right keyword to build a book around. So let's move on
Mm-hmm.
to number two. Number two is the number of results within the books category for that main keyword. So number one, we're doing intentionally at the beginning because we're trying to validate, is this keyword actually the valid keyword for maybe the book idea that we have? So in this case,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying is, okay, we've started to kind of validate that maybe this is actually going to be a good keyword, right? We are saying
Yeah.
that one, I'm going to come back to the search volume because that's my next criteria. But the first one is, I can see that this keyword is actually being started to be validated because we have quite a few people on page one, at least 5 to 10, that are using it as part of their title or part of their listing in some way. Number two is how many other competitors, how many search results show up for our main keyword, right? So if my main keyword is crochet for beginners, I'm doing a very quick check on this. we have 9,000 results showing up. Remember, make sure you're in the books category. This means there's over 9,000 other results for this keyword in the books category. Now, this is not an exact science. We don't need to know the exact number. We just need to know. Arvin, go ahead.
Yeah. So my question is, do you have like a certain number as to when it is qualified? Like right now, this 9,000. How would I know if it is yes or no? It should be above 1,000, should be above
Um,
5,000.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
good question. And I'm glad you asked. Here's the criteria for this. Best case. So a green. Green means go. Yellow means okay, maybe go slow. Red, stop. Or take pause and caution. The green for this is going to be less than 1,000 results. Less than 1,000, good. That means probably something to keep looking at. Between 1,000 and about 3, maybe 4,000, somewhere in there, that's going to be our yellow, right? We're starting to get more competition. Above about 4,000 is where it starts becoming more of a red zone, right? Now, that does not mean, with all the criteria I'm going to throw out, not any one of these is really telling you don't go into this niche, right? Maybe it's pretty competitive, but we've got a great idea. We've got a great angle. What these criteria we're talking about in this video and probably our next one are meant to do is help you validate what you're looking at. And so you're going to
Mm-hmm.
find some of these you're going to be green, some you're going to be maybe a yellow, some you're going to be a red. Every book that I've launched has had a couple that are red. Okay. Maybe they have low search volume, or maybe there's a lot of competitors. However, if I'm confident that they get all the other check boxes, I might still write a book and launch it around that.
So
So,
sometimes
sorry,
you
did that
have
answer your question?
either your, yeah, yeah, just the answered my question actually. So with what you were saying, sometimes even if it is not meeting the criteria, but as long as you love it or you like writing it or your heart is into it, you will still write it because you believe in it. That it?
Exactly. Yep. What we're trying to do
Okay.
is help validate an idea that we have, excuse me, or multiple ideas. Does
Mm-hmm.
that make sense?
Carry on. Yeah. So what's the next criteria?
All right. Next criteria. And I'm actually going to try to show something here. I'm going to actually give, just to make this a little bit easier. Oops. Let me hang on one sec. I'm going to try to actually open something. So I'm going to actually go through this one at a time. Next criteria, search volume. Okay. We need to now try to validate our search volume. Now,
Mm-hmm.
how do we do that? Let me actually, sorry, I'm multitasking here, which Arvin knows is the worst for me. Our next one's search volume. So on our main keyword, the next thing we want to assess is our search volume. How do you do this? Helium 10, Jungle Scout, Arvin, any other tools that you've used before? I know there used to be a free one called, I think, like Unicorn Smasher. Do they still exist? Let's
I
see.
haven't heard that one, but there are like deep dive and all other
Oh, they're
tools
gone.
out there.
Oh, maybe here. Yeah, there's a free tool called Unicorn Smasher that does this. Helium 10 is what we normally use. So here are your indicators. This is monthly search volume. Again, remember, you need to be in the books category. Search for what you think the main keyword is for the category. Now, one tip I'll throw out is this. By the way, this is, I think this is either Helium 10's. Oh, yeah, this is Helium 10's search expander. So if you have the Chrome extension, there's a free version of this that you can use, though, called AMZ Suggestion Expander, I believe it's called. It's
Mm-hmm.
essentially going to show you other searches related to the one you have. So, for example, go ahead, Arvin. Did you have a question?
No, no, I'm glad that actually you're giving other alternatives because yeah, I mean if I am just into writing, I'm not really an Amazon seller, so there's a possibility I don't have these tools like Helium 10, paid subscription, and other stuff. So yeah, I just really want to appreciate you giving the other recommendation, both
Yeah, my
three
goal,
tools.
we recommend Helium 10 just because it has so many different capabilities. But if you're trying to do this on a budget, there are free alternatives to this. And so I will try
Helium
our
10 is
best to
also
keep
free, by the way. I mean, there are
Oh,
some,
yeah. Yeah, you're right.
it is still free as long as you're not really using it for a higher purpose. So yeah, go on.
Yeah. So anyway, when you're kind of in this process, one thing you will do, and this is not a criteria piece, but is try to look around and maybe you actually figure out that there's a better keyword for your products, right? Maybe you want to write, if you don't want to write a book, for example, about crochet for beginners, maybe you need to find a different angle to write about, right? Maybe then in that case, you're going to find something else that's actually a better search term. Now, I'm not seeing any here necessarily, but My point is you essentially you need to try to assess like what you think is the best keyword. Now, I think crochet for beginners. I've written a lot of books that are XYZ topic for beginners, and I think it's a great like general topic to start with. So search volume. So I'm going to give everyone now the kind of criteria here. Search volume, the higher the better, right? We want more monthly searches for our main keyword because that tells us there's demand. What is good, what's bad, what's medium. So anything over about, I would say, 1,250, 1,500 monthly searches, green, we're good. The higher the better. If you are between 750 and 1,250, 1,500, somewhere in there, we're in that yellow section. If you're starting to get below that 750 monthly searches, you're starting to get into the red zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say 500 and below, you could say is your red zone. Just remember that you need demand. It's really hard to create demand on Amazon if you're writing a book. It's better to find the demand and serve that demand. So the higher the search volume, this is one of those really important criteria. I would say this is one of the biggest ones I lean into. There aren't many that tell you don't write a book about this topic. This is one that starts to push me away from a category. If I start getting red here, it's starting to tell me I don't think this is the right keyword, or it might not be the right category for me to write a book about. I'll pause
So
for a
even
sec,
if
Arvin.
so even
Go
if
for it.
everything else is a no, as long as the search volume is a yes, you would still pursue it.
I would be much more likely to, right? So like look at this.
Mhm.
So if now here's how this works in practice. If I let's go to a different example, which is I just type in the word crochet. So we looked at crochet for beginners only has about 2,400 searches. Still pretty solid. Crochet by itself, 36,000 monthly searches in the books category. Now, here's the thing. Now we have to recognize, though, there's also 50,000 plus competitors. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what you need to find a balance between competition and search demand. That's why I'm saying for this, I'm not going to compete as just crochet. But if I make a sub niche book about crochet just for the beginners, or check this out, crochet for kids. There we go. We found maybe something that actually, and let's go into books just to make sure. This could be something. I'm not personally someone that would write a book about this, but check it out. So crochet for kids, only 2,000 results. Well, over 2,000, but 2,000 results and 1,300 searches. Still pretty darn good, right? So maybe and this is kind of how my brain's working through the research process. Now, when I find these ideas, that's what we're putting down in column one on our Google Sheet or our Excel.
This is aren't book though.
This
When I
ad
scroll
is
down.
not a book, but these are books,
Okay.
right? So sometimes you're going to get that. And that's one thing that is an important call out is if you're using Helium 10 like X-ray to pull any data on here, be careful because the ads are normally going to be either books or non-book products. We only want to analyze data that is from books. And so you notice here, like these aren't books. However, the organic search results are in fact books. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Arvin, I think we should pause this video here and do a part two. Maybe we might even need to do a part three. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good. Because we're only down to like this is our third criteria. How many more criteria do we need to cover?
Oh, we got a couple more here. Now, I will say, guys, for anyone watching, those are two of the most important. Now, I've got probably 2 to 3 more that are also very, very important. I know two of those, and hopefully we can get all through all three in our next video, are
Can you
some of the game
can you
changers.
mention those in here just for us to know what can we expect
Yeah,
on the
so
next video?
the next ones are going to be your average bestsellers ranks, which is abbreviated BSR, and the number of listings on page one of search that have a BSR of less than 30,000. The
Mm-hmm.
final one is going to be actually related to Audible. So we're actually going to talk a little bit about looking ahead into can I turn this book into an audiobook? And is it a good audiobook? So those are really, I'd say, the big next three. We'll cover those in our second video here. There are a couple other ones I check, but those are the three remaining big ones. Arvin, any
Yeah.
final questions?
No, I'm just really curious because the number of reviews. Do you also consider that in especially you have as you say you're saying about the top five or top three competitors. So are you considering that as well, the number of reviews and ratings they have?
Yep, we'll save that for the next video. But that is the factor. The biggest ones, though, I look at BSR. So aside from what we talked about today, which is number of searches and the
Mm-hmm.
monthly search volume, there's several others I look at, but I'd say the next big three are average BSR, number of listings under 30K, and the
Mm-hmm.
number of competitors on Audible. However, there are several other criteria we're going to talk about that are kind of my nice to haves or help also validate a category. I'll give away two of those: average number of reviews for page one, average revenue on page one for organic searches. There's a couple others we'll talk about in the next video as well. So we'll put that down below. If anyone has questions on this video, let us know in the comments. Arvin, any final words? Otherwise, I think that's all I
Mm.
have for this one.
Yep, that's it. Thank you, Ben.
All right. Okay, everyone, we'll see you at the next video. Cheers.
Bye.